Well, hello class. It is spring already. March 21st, that's the start of spring, or I guess March 20th is. And the weather is improving, hopefully. Hopefully it will continue to do so. Anyway, we are not too concerned about that because we're on to audio pre-production now. And I'll be grading those assignments, your simple website assignments soon. Wanted to give you a few website hosting options. If you were interested in actually putting your website that you have created online, there are a couple of options that are available to you, and I'm just going to open up a new little file here to show you. I talked to people at Northern. They don't have anything. They use Google Docs for that, or Google Drive for putting websites up there, which isn't really very good for what we're looking at. But here are two options right here for free website hosting. I'm just not sure how good they are, honestly, because I haven't used them. But it appears to me that this byet.host website might be the best one to go to. If you go to byet.host, and then you can upload your website to that site and then view it online in one of their subdomains. And then I think also the 000webhost.com is another one that might be an option for you. They both look like legitimate sites to upload your website to. So if you're interested in that, you can use those places to upload that simple website. That's not required for this class, obviously. It was just required for you to create one, but I thought if you were interested, you could know about those. Okay, so let's look into this week. You have textbook chapter 12, multimedia components to read, and you're going to preview the project, the podcast project that is upcoming, and that will be due 2 weeks, I think 2.5 weeks from now about. And then you're going to be learning how to install and learn to use Audacity. And Audacity is the program that you're going to use for your podcast project. So you look into some of the instructional materials on that, where to get it, and then there's a video that tells you how to install it if you're not familiar with installing programs on your computer. And then there's a quick start guide for Audacity. You want to become familiar with Audacity because you'll use that to create your podcast. And then you are going to take an hour or so to review some existing podcasts to get a feel for how podcasts are done, because you're going to have to create 2 episodes of your own podcast on any subject for the assignment. And so that's going to link you to some options to look into podcasts and how they sound, what people say, how what the voice is, what they share, what they feature. Although it's not really about what podcasts feature, because you're going to feature your own content for your podcast, but it's more about just the structure and thinking about what elements are in a podcast to make sure that you include those in your own podcast episodes that you will create. So I'm sure that you're looking at wondering what this project is all about, this podcast project. And basically it requires you to do a number of things. So let me get this running here. Yeah, so it requires you to, for instance, create a podcast theme that both episodes, you're going to have 2 episodes, 1 podcast theme, and each of those episodes you'll create will have 3 to 10 minutes in length. 1 episode can be an interview. You can have an expert or somebody who knows about the topic of the podcast come, and you can interview them for one of the episodes. The other episode, though, should be you. It should have quality recording, and we'll be learning about this as we learn about Audacity and how to get good sound balance and quality recording. Good sound balance, engaging voice. In other words, you can't just have the same voice or the boring Ferris Bueller days off voice of the teacher, but you need to have an exciting, engaging voice for this podcast project. And there should be an episode consistency, a structure and an episode consistency, meaning that episode 1 should have the same structure as episode 2. There should be maybe the same intro music, an introduction, a welcome, the same kind of structure, although the content's going to be different because it's a different episode. There should be a signature sound or music clip in each episode and sound effects. So you're going to have to learn how to add these things in and create some audio production items in order to do this project. And if you look at the multimedia development process, it really does follow, your process will follow this process. You're going to start out with ideas. What am I going to do my podcast on? And then you're going to do a script. You don't have to do a storyboard because there are no visual elements to this project. There are only auditory or audio, elements. And then you're going to record, edit, and finish. So looking at this process in a little more depth, you're going to choose for ideas something that you know about. And this is what I suggest, something that you know about, something that you learned maybe at work or grew up doing or you learned in class. Some idea, something that you can do for your podcast. I think this is important to find something that you already know something about. That way you're not just creating a podcast about something you have no idea about. It won't be very convincing. So instead, think about something. If you love knitting, for instance, you're just a big knitter, you're in knitting communities, then do a podcast on knitting. Talk about one aspect of knitting for one episode and maybe another aspect for another episode. Or you love rock climbing, you love hiking. Where are some good hikes to go on? Let's do a podcast episode about that. So it doesn't really have to be about your work. It could be about your work though too. I mean, if you're working in a certain type of environment and you think some of the information about where you're working or some of the lessons learned would be useful, that could be good as well. So that's the idea process. Come up with good ideas. Next is a script, and you want to take an outline first of each episode. So each episode you should outline what you're going to talk about. Get some ideas out there. Show what you're going to, what you first talk about, what you'll next talk about, and then script out the full text. I don't require you to do the entire text of any podcast, because some podcasts should really be shooting from the hip anyway. I mean, it's a little bit more spontaneous and more fun that way to have some of that. But if you feel like it, you could write out the full text for the entire podcast episode that you want to do. Although don't make it sound like you're just reading it. That's kind of a tough thing. As you review podcasts, you'll realize that you want an engaging voice, and most of them are probably not fully scripted out. So, but you do want to start with an outline, fill in the text a little bit more, what you'll say. And then you want to make sure that there is episode consistency from one episode to the other. Next, you'll actually record your episode. You'll use it on a computer with a microphone. You'll use Audacity to record it. And you want to make sure that you have good quality recording, good high quality recording, and an engaging voice, and structure and episode consistency should be there as well as you record. And if there's an interview, make sure your interviewee has a good engaging voice as well. Sounds excited, sounds enthusiastic. That's an important aspect of multimedia production. And then edit. So after you're done with your episodes, you may want to cut out things. Make sure that it has good sound balance, meaning one person's not way louder than another, or one aspect of the music isn't way louder than your voice. You'll want to edit things. You can make things louder and quieter as you edit. You can add in a signature sound or music clips and any sound effects that you want to add in for your episode. And then you'll finish it. That means exporting the audio file. And you're going to upload the files to a website like Podomatic or SoundCloud. Those are some good options. So that's the process that you'll follow as you complete this assignment. And you'll want to get started right now with ideas. And that's why I'm having you look at review some previously made podcasts so that you can look at those ideas and see what kinds of things might be interesting for you. So really that's what's going on this week. You're preparing for that assignment. This assignment itself won't be due until April 9th, but in the next few weeks you're preparing for it. So good luck with this week and enjoy.